What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Marketing Nomad Show. It's your favorite marketer and podcast host. My name is Prit. I've got a very special guest with me today, Midori Verity. As a mindset coach, TV host, and seasoned entrepreneur for 25 plus years, Midori Verity assists ambitious professionals to unlock their potential by replacing their subconscious mental barriers. Her clients go from feeling stuck and overwhelmed to enjoying soaring levels of success. Midori is the CEO of Fuel to Fire Entrepreneur Group, focused on helping members achieve massive goals using the Entrepreneur Success Triangle. This approach implements accountability, systems, and coaching, and is basically what this entire episode is going to be about as well. You may have seen Midori on CBS, Fox News, and Thrive Global. Midori, welcome to the Marketing Nomad Show. How are we doing today?
We're doing great. I'm so excited to be here with you, Britt.
Oh, we're so excited to get into the Entrepreneur Success Triangle. But before we get into all that, Midori, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What is it that you do? How did you get started with it? And why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? Yeah, so let me tell you. When I graduated a million years ago from college, we were in a recession and no one was hiring. And so I was like, okay, what are we going to do? Fast forward, my husband and I, we started a company and it grew quickly. It was fairly fast growth company. And what happened was we had kids during that time. We bought a house, we bought another rental property. And I kind of lost my mind during that. I realized I hated the business that we had. And because of that, it transferred into everything else, right? And because I had kids, we had other assets. I didn't know what to do. I felt completely stuck. And fast forward, I went into a bit of a depression for about 6 months. And during that process of feeling like, okay, I need to find something, I can't live like this forever, I started looking into other ways of thinking, other alternatives, and I found about neuroscience and specifically neuroplasticity. And what that is that's this idea, it's a science, it's been a proven science that shows we can constantly evolve and change and step into being a different person. And the best part is that we have the control. So when I found that out, it was almost like all of a sudden this huge weight was lifted and the skies opened up and butterflies came out. It was just like this amazing moment. And then after I did that, I was at a conference when I learned about this. After that, I came home and changed everything. I found a way to get myself removed from the business so that my husband wasn't wanting to kill me and I wasn't wanting to kill him. And I was able to move on into something else. The business kept on growing and I was able to go off and do my own entrepreneurial journey and be so much happier and freer. So when you ask, why do I do what I do now with coaching business entrepreneurs? It's because what I love the most is taking someone who's feeling stuck, who's feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm working so hard and I don't know what to do, or I'm doing these things and they're not working and I don't know how to change this, and showing them how to do that. And that is really what lights me up. That's my passion. That's what keeps me going. And that's what I do now.
Oh, that's so beautiful to hear. I really love it when people talk about their passion. And for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, you can absolutely see Midori just light up when she talks about what she loves doing. And that's just so heartwarming for me. And Midori, I think you really bring up a very important topic, and that is when we are feeling stuck in our business, it often does transmute into other parts of our lives and vice versa too. So when it was, when you were feeling stuck, can you give some of the actionable steps that you did take to get out of feeling stuck? I mean, even recognizing it sometimes is a struggle for us as entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So what was your mindset at that time? How did you recognize it? And what are the steps that you did take?
Yeah, really good question. And you brought up the first point is awareness is the first part. A lot of times we don't see it. So whether you feel stuck, whether you feel overwhelmed, or you're chasing shiny objects, whatever it is, you have to become aware of it. So one way to start noticing it is, when do you feel resistance? When do you feel like something's not right? You're feeling off, right? We all go through this in our lives and in our entrepreneurial journey. You just can't avoid it. So becoming aware of that, and then digging deeper, asking yourself questions. What is it? Why do I feel like this? What's going on? What is this challenge? What's occurring? Once you pinpoint it, and it might take a little bit of time, once you pinpoint it, try to dive even deeper. Get to the root of what's going on. And it may be something that you're not expecting. It could be something such as, okay, I'm feeling stuck. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Those are kind of the results of what's going on, the side effects. But when you dig deeper, you realize, I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid of how other people are going to perceive me. And that's really what's going on. So you want to become aware, write it down. Writing it down and having it in a journal where you can see it makes a profound difference. So that's step one, become aware of it. And then you need to have a system to change it. So this is kind of a mental habit for creating more success patterns. Really important. So figure out what it is, then figure out what you're going to do to change it. So maybe it is that you're going to start doing positive affirmations to change your mindset. Maybe it's that you are, every time you recognize it, you're going to have this rubber band on. This is a rubber band trick. This is really profoundly powerful. But what the rubber band trick is, you wear a rubber band every time you notice a negative thought or these beliefs or these patterns that are coming up that you want to replace. You snap that, let it sting a little bit. And then you replace it with 3 positives. Make sense? So let me kind of run you through this. So give an example. So let's say your limiting belief is, I'm not smart enough, right? So you catch that. I'm not smart enough to run this business and grow it. Then you catch that, then you change it and say, I actually am incredibly intelligent because I pushed myself and I got through one of the hardest classes in high school or in college. I'm incredibly intelligent because I helped Susie get to her next level. I'm incredibly intelligent because I know how to navigate through challenging situations. Whatever it is, you replace it every single time. And it takes 27 to 90 days to change that pattern, but it will change and it'll be permanent. So that is one very tangible way to recognize it and to change it.
Oh, that's amazing. I absolutely loved the rubber band trick. So I have not heard about the rubber band trick. And for me, that's very interesting because for me, there's something that I personally do when I have a negative thought pattern or when I feel that my anxiety is rising a bit. I snap my finger and my focus automatically goes to my finger and the sound. So there's a switch in my thought process, and then I have not thought about replacing it with 3 positives. And that's definitely something that I'm going to be doing in my daily habit, because as much as I turn the thought, I don't replace it. And I think replacing it is one of the best tactics. And I absolutely love that. And speaking of, positive affirmations, we all want success in this journey. I mean, as an entrepreneur, I think we have that very innate drive to be successful. And that brings me to the topic of your entrepreneur success triangle. What exactly is it? Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's delve completely deep into that.
Yeah. So what I've noticed, I've been an entrepreneur, like you mentioned in the beginning, for over 25 years, and I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, some that are really, really successful, and then some that are struggling. And what I've seen with those who are highly successful, they have these 3 components tied down. They know them. So the first one is your clear goals. You have clear goals and you know how you're going to achieve them. So it's not just kind of this idea, it's very focused. So that's the first component. So clear goals and a map. In Fuel the Fire, we call it your summit goal mapping framework. The next one is accountability. So the accountability component means either they have a person who is like-minded like them, so an entrepreneur who's about at the same level, or they have a group that they are working with that they touch in with consistently, who holds them accountable. So this looks like, okay, so let's say that Prit, you decide I am going to focus on getting on 20 podcasts during this quarter, right? And then you come to your group, your accountability group, and you're like, oh, you know what? I decided I'm going to blog. I'm going to become a blogger this quarter because I've tried this, I've kind of touched in, I've tried to get on some podcasts and it's not working very well. So I'm going to do blogging. Your accountability group is going to come back to you and say, wait a minute, why are you giving up on the podcasting? Let's look at things and see what's going wrong. Let's fix that problem first before you change. Do you see how that works? So it helps create that focus, that very consistent focus. So that's the second component. The third component is mentoring or a coach, someone who's already been there, who knows it, who helps you cut through those big challenges that slow you down because they've been there and they've done it. That is key. It needs to be someone who's already been there and already been successful, who can help shorten that learning curve. Because as entrepreneurs, especially when you don't have a huge team around you, when you're growing, you are often trying to figure out, do I do A or do I do B? Where do I invest my money? Who do I hire next? What should I be focusing on marketing? Should I be focusing on marketing or should I be fixing my package? Should I be revamping my website? Right? All these questions. Is my messaging clear, or am I targeting the wrong market? All these kinds of things. A mentor or a coach who is very skilled and has experience can answer for you so that it's taking out that mental drain, right? That energy drain, and you're able to move much quicker and get that momentum and start seeing success. So that is what the entrepreneurial success triangle is. So you have your clear goals with a map to get there. You have your accountability component and you have the mentorship. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's very clear that, first you need to have your goal and then you need to have some sort of accountability because, well, shiny object syndrome is kind of a thing. And,
So
especially
real.
when it comes to having that focus, having an accountability group really does help you zone in and just keep doing what you're doing, at least until you can see results and fix it if it's not. And then, of course, mentoring is the last stage of it. And I think that that's also really, really important. But I do want to delve a little bit deeper into accountability. So, of course, we hear accountability groups everywhere. How do you find your accountability group? That's my first question. My second question is, what happens if you do join an accountability group and then they're not compatible? How do you understand the compatibility?
Excellent questions. So in Fuel the Fire, well, actually, I'm going to back up for a second. So when I first broke off from the company that I owned with my husband all those years ago, I found an accountability group, and it was a small group. And during that time, I was able to write a book within 6 months. So start to when it was produced and selling was 6 months. And it was because of the accountability group. So I understood the profound power of that. So when we talk about the components of a really strategic accountability group, there's a few things that you need to think about. It needs to be people at the similar level as you. Also, you need to have structure in there. If you just join a free Facebook group and hope that it's going to be as impactful as you want, chances are there's going to be people who don't show up. They don't take it seriously. There's going to be people that are not at your level that bring the whole group down. So those are some of the things. The other thing that we do in Fuel, this is not a sell for Fuel the Fire, but I'm just answering the question of what we have found to be very successful, is we go in quarters. So we have 90-day increments that we do it. So there's a beginning and there's an end. And what that has been shown to do is that in 90 days, that has been proved by so much research that is kind of that key time that you will get your big goals done. Let me give an example of this. So I have a client who has been in Fuel the Fire since we started. Her name's Sally, and she's fantastic. She's a triathlon. She throws triathlons. She's in Missouri, and I was talking with her recently, and she's like, Midori, I've hit all my big goals. Our biggest goals are called our summit goals. Those are our yearly goals, our 12-month goals. She's like, I already hit them all this quarter. And so I need new ones. I'm like, okay. And she said it's because of the accountability. She's one of those who shows up every single week. She shows up and does what she says she's going to do. And she's gotten into that habit of doing it. So that is one of the results that can happen. So let me break this. I'd like to break down a little bit more about how these summit goals work, because for the listeners, they can do this now. They can start doing this now. And it's really helpful. Are you okay with that? Yeah. I can
Oh,
see
yes,
you.
absolutely.
Okay.
I'm just like, yes, absolutely. We need all the information that we can get. I just mute it just in case there's noise on my end every now and then. But yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, Midori, go for it.
Okay. So the summit goals, think of a mountain. Think of a big mountain. At the very top, you have your summit goals. Those are your 12 months to 2-year goals. These are the goals that get you excited and fired up. They're stretchy, right? So think of kind of what you really want to create in your business. What's it look like? Ask yourself a lot of questions. Take time on this because this is extremely important. How do you want your life to be? Maybe you say that you want to have this big company, but you need to ask yourself, do I really want to have 50 employees or 20 employees? Or do I want to have it tighter? Either way, it's okay, but you need to think about that because when it comes to your building blocks to build up there, you want to have that in mind. What do you really want your life in your business to look like? So that's the top. When you're thinking of your summit goals, you want to have ideally only 2. One is going to be a personal goal. One is going to be your big business goal. The more focused you can be, the better. Sometimes you need to have more than that. So it's okay, but no more than 3 summit goals. Underneath that, so we go down to the bottom of the mountain, right? Because we need to get up. Our approach goals. So we need to approach our summit goals. Those are chunked down into 90-day goals, right? So your approach goals are your steps that need to happen to get you there. So if my goal for the year is to have 200 people in Fuel the Fire, right? You also want to use numbers as much as possible, having a measurement. So that might be one of my goals, 200 people in Fuel the Fire. So my approach goal is, okay, I need a marketing goal. I need to get out there. People need to know who I am, right? So social media. So one of my approach goals might be post on social media 7 days a week. Okay. Then underneath that approach goal are our action steps. How am I going to do this? So every Monday, I'm going to have a block of 2 hours where I'm spending creating my content or having my assistant create content. Maybe instead I meet with my assistant every Monday at 9 a.m. and we figure out what we are building. What's our content calendar look like? What is our focus? What are the 3 things that we are focusing on as a business? And then she creates the content for that. So you need to kind of figure that out. Then you go to your next approach goal for the next quarter, right? And so it just keeps on building. You may not know in the very beginning how you're going to reach your big summit goal because it's stretchy. And that's okay. If you think about, I'm in the United States. So if you think of how John F. Kennedy, when he was president, he talked about putting a man on the moon. That was huge. No one had ever done that. Putting a man in space. Are you kidding? How are we going to do that? He didn't know. He had no idea how he was going to do that. But he had a team of scientists who were, incredibly intelligent, and they were able to come together and figure out a way. So what happens is as you're going through your approach goals each quarter, it starts becoming clearer and you start seeing successes. And then your next approach goals for the following quarter are going to change up a little bit because now you're seeing things clearer. Does it make sense? This becomes your roadmap to get there. And then you have the accountability, of course, to help you stay focused and not get overwhelmed in case you get stuck on something or you want to get feedback. That's what they're there for. Then you have your mentor to help push you through. But that's really how you get through. I have a client who came to me and she's like, Midori, I don't know. At this point, she was going through a divorce. She was going through huge, massive change. She knew she wanted to be an entrepreneur, but she didn't know really how to do it. And so I'm like, okay, Let's look at what you're really good at. Let's look at what I call your zone of genius. And your zone of genius is your natural intrinsic talents, things that you're really good at, but also that you love to do. She's like, okay, I love art. I love creating things. I love being around a table with my family and sharing stories. I'm like, okay, let's talk about this. And she showed me some of the things that she's done. And she creates these really cool charcuterie boards, which are big round cheese boards, which are very popular here. She's in California as well. They're popular here in California. And so I'm like, okay, let's have you create those. And we created a whole business out of this based on her zone of genius. And then we went to the summit goals and we figured out, okay, what do you want your life to look like with your business in your life? We got really clear on that. And then we broke down her approach goals. Okay, what's it going to look like for this quarter? So she has already sold a bunch of boards. She's going out and she's doing these markets. She needed to have some presence. She needed to create a presence for her business. So we are positioning her as the Wisconsin girl who's moved to California. And so she has, she's all about family. She has Midwest or kind of the Midwest ideals that are all based on family traditions. And so she brings that to her business. So that's how we're positioning her this quarter. And so that's one of her approach goals. How's she going to position herself? And then so she is getting on to interviews. She's going out to events. She's doing her branding and her messaging. That hopefully that helps make it a little clearer on how this all comes together.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I can see how, you first have a main goal for the entire year. And I love that you mentioned that it has to be something that gets you fired up. I really like that because so many times I have felt the same pressure too as a business owner myself. You look at someone else's goal and you're like, oh, okay, I should probably have that goal. And it's not the vision that I have for my business or my life. And I think that we do succumb to that pressure a little bit. So I loved that you said when you are deciding your summit goals, it has to be something that fires you up and makes you happy. And also when you said you were talking to your client and you asked her, the first question was, what is it that you are passionate about? What is it that you love to do? I absolutely liked that because I think that as entrepreneurs, we do want a life of passion. It's a very innate desire in us. And most of the times we look at others, we feel so pressured about not finding our passion. And I like that you sat with your client, you discussed it, and you said, okay, break it down to what do you like doing and then focus on that. So I really liked that. And then I also liked that you said things become clearer as you go through it, because again, I think there is so much pressure on us as entrepreneurs to have everything figured out beforehand. And
Yes.
when you said it's one step at a time, take it as it comes, I loved that. That is absolutely tidbits that my audience needs at this point. And I do have,
Yeah.
a couple of more questions on that. What are some of the common mistakes that you see newbie entrepreneurs making these days?
Um, I have to address the issue that you just brought up a second ago, where talking about the passion. What do you want as a business owner, right? We become entrepreneurs not because it's so much fun necessarily. I love it, but because we want a certain lifestyle, right? That's when you get to the core.
Yes,
We want a
absolutely.
certain lifestyle. If we have kids or
Yes.
we want more freedom, right? So you have to ask yourself, why do I want to do this? What am I passionate about? Make sure you're not doing it for someone else's dream. Make sure it's your dream. I see this a lot. I see it a lot. When I was in college, I had a roommate who came to me and we knew each other really well. And she was going to law. We had just graduated with our bachelor's and she was going on to law school. And I remember her saying to me, she's like, Midori, I don't want to be an attorney. I want to be a teacher. I'm like, okay, well, why are you going to go put yourself through this heinous education if that's not even what you want? And it was because her father wanted that dream for her, right? It was his dream, not hers. So fast forward, she did go to law school. And Next step, she became a district attorney for a while. After that, she became a teacher. So, that just kind of, it's not necessarily about business, but it gives an idea of how we let others influence us. So we have to really get kind of clear, take some time, especially I talked about with your summit goal, really taking time with that. You need to know what you're passionate about, what your zone of genius is. You also need to know what your weaknesses are. So that's another area where I see entrepreneurs making big fat mistakes, is that they try to do everything. And then at the end of the day, their energy is just drained, right? Like, oh my gosh, why am I so tired? Why am I frustrated? Why am I hating this or not enjoying this? Why am I feeling so darn stuck? And often it's because you're doing things that you're not good at. You're not naturally good at. I stink at attention to detail. I'm just not good at it. So I know that I need to hire someone who is good at that. So all my assistants and really important people are what we call integrators. They are the people who pay attention to details. I'm the visionary. If you've read EOS, Traction by Gino Wickman, he talks about this. He teaches this EOS system, entrepreneur operating system. And he talks about most entrepreneurs tend to be the visionary, right? We have the big ideas, we're excited, we're fired up, we can share our ideas, but we stink at integrating it. So we need someone who can implement it for us. And so that's where we need to figure out, what do we stink at and what are we really good at? If you're really good at writing, often you're not good at details. If you're really good at communicating and talking and you're outgoing, you often are not good at being organized. These are just kind of facts that I've learned through some behavior education that I have gone through. So that is another big thing for entrepreneurs to pay attention to. The third thing that is important for us to help us not get so frustrated. Entrepreneurs often underestimate or overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but they underestimate what they can achieve in 3 years. So as you're going through this journey, it's all a journey, right? We learn, it's part of it. If you're not hitting those marks like you wanted to, don't get discouraged. Know that you're on this journey, and these lessons that you're learning, the mistakes that you are having, are part of it. They're going to make you stronger. And when you build that muscle, when you build that habit of overcoming those challenges quicker, getting up, dusting yourself off, and moving on, you're going to be stronger and you're going to move quicker. So that's another thing for entrepreneurs to really pay attention to.
I absolutely love it. And I think it's so true that we underestimate 3 years, but we overestimate what we can do in a year. I when you were saying that, I was like, oh yeah, tick, definitely. Guilty.
We all do it. We all do. We all get excited. Yes, that's part of
Yes.
the entrepreneurial spirit.
I do want to talk about one thing though, Midori. So when it comes to the whole digital world of entrepreneurship, there is so much taboo when it comes to acknowledging your weaknesses or acknowledging that there might not be certain things that you are good at. What are your thoughts on that? And how can my listeners overcome that thought process?
So are you asking, like, they may think that they're not good at something, but they want to be good at it, or they really are not good at it and they need to be aware of it? Are you talking about more of the awareness
The
idea, or?
awareness of it, because I think there is always that defensiveness that comes in that says, oh my God, no, I have to be perfect at everything. I have to not make any mistakes nor have any weaknesses. How do we overcome
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
defensiveness?
Yeah. This is key for entrepreneurs. You want to be successful, you better figure it out. And so you need to know what you are not good at, and you need to find a way around it. So one way to know is, if you are working on something and you notice at the end of the day, your head is just tired, you are exhausted. Chances are you are doing something that is out of your comfort zone, which is okay, but you need to ask yourself, was I doing something that I did enjoy, but I just don't know how to do it quite efficiently yet? Or is it something that I really hate? And get clear on that, because it's an important component to know. Because the more that you can, if it's something that you enjoy and you just need to learn it better, that's okay. But maybe you need someone to help you with that. Maybe you need to take a class. There's so many great online classes these days that you can take. Maybe you need a trainer, whatever it is. Maybe you need to read a book. But if it's something that you're not good at, you need to find a way to either collaborate with someone who is good at that. You use your talents, they use their talents, and maybe you do some kind of bartering system, right? Or you, if you have a little bit of money, you get a virtual assistant. As you get more successful, you can hire someone who's even better, but start somewhere so they're taking some things off your plate.
Oh, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I love that you said that you better figure it out. It was to the point, and I absolutely loved it because I think part of this journey is about ourselves, understanding what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, and working around it or learning how to overcome it. So I absolutely love the fact that you did say it is part of this journey. This is a journey. It's just how it
Yeah.
is. And I kind of want to delve a little bit into the zone of genius that you talked about before we wrap this entire episode. So tell us a little bit about what is the zone of genius, a little bit more in depth, and what are some actionable steps that my listeners can do to get into their zone of genius?
Yeah. Okay. Zone of genius is such I love the term and I love what it brings out in people. So, your zone of genius, I'm just going to repeat from earlier, is what you're naturally good at. So whether you're are you creative? Are you intellectual? Are you analytical? Where do you thrive? Think of your education, where you really did well, jobs that you've had, um, even volunteering. What made your heart sing? What did you enjoy most? And what was it about that? So dive really deep. What is it? I talked about my client earlier who realized, I really love creativity and making things and sitting around a table. So she was able to create a whole business around that. So think about that. But if you're more analytical, you're going to hate that. That doesn't work for you. Maybe it's more about writing. Maybe you enjoy writing. So you create a blog. There are people who make gazillions of dollars through blogging, right? Creating an online magazine. There's the Hustle or Milk Road, which are really good examples of that. So think of what it is, and then think of what kind of business can you create around that. So make sure it starts with that. There's a couple other components that I talk about. Well, actually, let me finish up with zone of genius. So when you are working, what you want to strive for is working 80% a day from your zone of genius and doing 20% of the things that you really don't enjoy. When we're starting up, it's really hard to get around not being, not doing the things that you don't want to do. You just kind of have to do them sometimes, right? You got to get scrappy. You just got to get it done. It's not going to be perfect, but you just got to get it done. You got to get launched. So, but you want to continue working on that goal of getting to 80%. Because what you'll notice is when you can offload like doing social media, that's really not my thing. I don't necessarily enjoy it. I'd rather be working with my clients and coming up with ways to help them more. I love that. I would love to work all day long with just my clients and helping them get to their next level. And speaking on, doing this type of work where I'm talking to an interviewer. I love this. This is fun. I love sharing things that help people get to their next level and helping give those little nuggets. So I have assistants that help me do those things. Luckily I've been in business for so long that I have people in place that I can offload that. And what I notice is when I offload those things, it's like this, you just relax into it. You're happier. It's more enjoyable. It's like, oh, thank God I don't have to do that because I'm not good at it and it's sucking my brain space. So again, pay attention to your brain energy. The more brain energy that we have, the more we're going to get done, the more that we're going to enjoy the journey. So if you're noticing that you consistently are going to bed exhausted and you have these time periods, you might even want to journal about this. I think this is a really good idea to journal throughout the day of where are you feeling like this life suck or this energy suck from your brain? What is it that you're doing? and pay attention to that, because there may be something that you can do right now to change that quickly. And so that's powerful to become aware of what that is.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that you said brain energy. I've never heard that term before, but it's so true. There are some things, of course, now I'm in the, I guess, initial stages of my business. It's been 3 years, but I would consider it initial.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are things where I have to just do it, but I have made a note of it. I'm like, the minute I can hire someone for that, I'm definitely going to. So
Yes.
it's really important to understand where your zone of genius is. I love the term that you've coined, zone of genius, where the energy suck happens. And journaling throughout the day is a really good idea if you want to figure out where exactly your brain energy is. And I like that you gave us that idea. And Midori, we are kind of wrapping up our episode now. If there is one piece of advice that you would love to give my listeners that, maybe they can immediately, finish this podcast and then hop on to do, what would it be?
Well, I would love to share the Summit Goal Mapping Framework. And so, they can start putting together, just like what my client did that I talked about, the one who is from Wisconsin and California, and she created her boards and she created her whole business around it. So they can go to my website, go to fueltofiregroups.com/goals, and they can get the whole framework and start creating today their summit goals and their approach goals. It's the beginning of the quarter. Actually, when we're filming this right now, it's the beginning of the quarter. So it doesn't matter. You make up your own 90 days, but go in and take time, light a candle, get relaxed, do some meditation beforehand, and really enjoy the process. And what's cool is when you start mapping this out, things start coming to you and you're like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. And you have more clarity. Just like, all my other clients, it's clarity, it's accountability, it's knowing what you're doing when you get up in the morning, and just start crushing it. And that's what that will help them do.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to be putting the links in the bio for those of you who are listening and you probably didn't catch that. Everything's going to be in the bio, every link to Midori. Midori, where can they find you if they would like to work with you?
Yeah, they can find me anywhere on social media. So it's at Midori Verity. And I'm sure my name will be spelled somewhere here, but then also they can go to fueltofire.co. So it's fuel TO. So two is spelled out, fueltofire.co. And they can reach me there too.
All right, guys. I hope you have all that information. Of course, it's going to be in the links as well in the description box. Midori, thank you so much for joining us. We have learned so much today. Absolutely. I'm so interested in trying to implement the framework for my own business as well. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Well, I hope you guys are doing super, super awesome. I will catch you guys in my next podcast episode. Thank you. Bye-bye.